Okay, last video on radicals. Solving, this is basically everything we've been building up for is this moment. So solving radical equations. So when we are solving radical equations, whenever we're solving any equation, we're trying to solve for x, trying to get x by itself. First thing we should think about is restrictions here. So I know that this has to be bigger than or equal to 0, something to note. Okay. When I want to get x by itself, I basically, it's trapped underneath the radical. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to square both sides. Okay? And when I square a square root, they cancel because they are inverse operations of each other. So I just end up with 3x equals 81, and then I divide both sides by 3, so I end up with x equals 27, okay? You should always, every single time you're doing these questions though, plug it back in, do 3 times 27 and take the square root of that number, and do you get 81? Sorry, do you get 9? That's what you're looking to check, okay? All right, right here, things are getting a little bit more complicated. Before you do anything, you should state the restriction. So again, x has to be greater than or equal to 0. Also, you should isolate the radical. So you want to get the radical by itself to simplify your life. So this 2 is kind of in the way, so he's multiplying. So I'm just going to divide both sides by 2. So I end up with root 6x equals 6. Square both sides. 6x equals 36, so x equals 6. And then again, before I accept this answer, I should check it. So 6 times 6 is 36, square root of 36 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12, so I'll check. Okay, this guy here, so the radical's already isolated. I square both sides, and so I get 10x equals 400, and x equals 40. So then I plug it back in. 10 times 40 is 4,000. The square root of 4,000 is not negative 20. It is positive 20. So this is not a correct answer. This is called an extraneous root. Does not exist. It is, if we look back at the original question before I even did anything, is it possible to take the square root of any number and get a negative answer? The answer is no. So you have to be really, really careful before you do any mindless math and be math robots. Does not exist. And I didn't need to do this to figure that out. I could just look. This can never equal that. So be aware of that. Okay, something here. So remember, trying to solve for x, okay? So what I want to do, first of all, I could state this restriction. So whatever's underneath the radical has to be bigger than or equal to 0. So 2x minus 1 has to be bigger than or equal to 0. So 2x has to be bigger than or equal to 1. So x has to be bigger than or equal to a half. That's my restriction. All right, so then let's look back at the equation. So remember, I'm trying to solve for x. When I'm trying to solve for x, I'm trying to get x by itself. When I have radical functions, I want to get the radical by itself. So I'm going to get rid of this 5. So this is adding 5, so I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. So I end up with root 2x minus 1 equals 7. Square both sides. 2x minus 1 equals 49. Rearrange and solve for x, so add 1. 2x equals 50, divide by 2. So x equals 25. And before I accept that answer, I should check it. So 2 times 25 is 50, minus 1 is 49. Square root of 49 is 7, 5 plus 7 is 12. Check, okay? This one is a little bit different because it has 2 radicals in it. When you have a question with 2 radicals in it, make sure you have 1 radical on each side. This one's already set up for you, but if you had to rearrange it, you just move it so that you have a radical on each side. And this is actually quite simple. Just square both sides, so we end up with this. And then I just go ahead and rearrange and solve. So I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. So I have 8 equals 8x. So 1 equals x. And then we're going to go ahead and we always check our work, right? So we're going to plug it back in. Oh, I made a mistake. I made a mistake. Nope, I didn't make a mistake. Okay, we're going to plug 1 back in. So 4 times 1 plus 8, so 12. And this is also 12. So radical 12 equals radical 12. Check. So that's how you solve radical equations.